Workflow?
I do.
Do
I've
you
got
like it?
3 on.
Why am I
It's a
just
loaded
seeing you,
place.
Laura? I don't see nobody else.
Because Bill's got his camera covered.
I do, yeah, because I work from home. Y'all not gonna see this place.
You're daggone right. I turned mine off too. Heck no.
I mean, I am a bachelor from the word go, so you definitely not gonna look around this place.
Too, William.
Maybe every once in a while.
You can see your shadow a little bit.
I've got mixed feelings about workflow.
I hate it. I don't have mixed feelings. I hate it. I got one driver of 3 that know what they're doing, and
it's not so much that as because now you van or flat? Is
van.
that what van? How many times in van do you get directions like go down here by Mrs. Smith's store, take the dirt road on the left?
When you see the 3rd rock, turn right.
And, I mean, what do we do then? You don't have an address.
Oh yeah.
It's just a lot of little things like that.
Oh.
And you've got 27 trucks sitting in Texas, you're trying to all get them loaded at the same time. You can't physically punch all that in and have it on them.
Well, it took me over 49 minutes yesterday to get this lady some help to get her load transfer back over because we had to cancel it and redo it.
You let her go ahead and start though, right?
She couldn't even leave because I had Tim helping me and Mike when I sent the 54 to her. It deleted her new one, and so she had to wait for it to be sent back to her, and it took that long for it to come up. So she ended up getting loaded, but still, she was a little bit late on it.
Did I see Mike come in?
He's here. Can you see him?
You can see my giant head. Hey, how's it going? Here, I'll turn the light on, then you can see me better. All right, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Very good. If I'm too loud, let me know. I'm going to turn y'all down a little bit.
Whoever's hollering in the background, we can't hear them. If it's Rebecca, we don't want to hear.
Both the table microphones were dead. He's going to have to put some new batteries in them.
Mike, you gonna have a second after this meeting?
What's that?
I need to talk to you about a driver.
Okay. Yeah, I can talk to you as soon as this is over for a minute.
All right, I'll send you an email.
Will that work, or do I need to step out right now and talk with you?
No, I'll send you an email. It's just something we got to bring him in and get some tarping lessons.
Okay. All right. Sounds good to me. I got. If they're coming for workflow, it's going to start at 8:30.
Are they going to do the winter stuff too?
Yeah.
The winter.
Mm-hmm.
I can get you drivers.
Yeah, we're just going to try to knock them out at the same time.
Well, Jay thinks it's Christmas already.
Yep.
I was going to say, look at those fancy flatbedders in there.
All right, very good. Everybody's coming in. This is good. All right. For once, I actually managed to get the meeting, online before, I actually started the meeting. This is a good thing. So for those of y'all at the table, you can. Indeed, every time. Jay saying that JC is now a front row guy instead of a back row guy. For a long time, he was a back row guy. So he was giving them props,
Well, usually the bad kids have to sit in the front of the class. So
yeah, that's about where we at, I think. Very good. Very good. Is this everybody that's coming for this one? I guess. I figure we get started. All right. So, I sent a very quick last-minute email to Laura, Mike, and Bill. Just some real quick notes about the second part of the training today. We are going to talk about workflow. If that takes all of our time, that's fine. We won't even worry about the other part that I wanted to talk to you about, which is online training, like for our drivers and also for operations. So if you want to look that up or whatever, Bill and Laura, whoever else is on here, then feel free to bring that up. So the first thing, I had some really good conversations this week talking about different workflow things. Laura, was Michelle Shaw correct yesterday that had the issue? And she managed to get her load picked up and everything?
She did, but it took like over, almost an hour for that reload to be resent back to her. Yeah. Okay. Did Kent speak with you about why he thought that happened? Did he say anything to you about? I didn't. I'm not Kent. I'm sorry. Did Angie get a chance to call you? I know she was going to try to. Angie said she was going to look at it and then give me a call back. Okay. So I spoke with Kent, and they did say that they were looking into it. They weren't sure exactly what happened, but Rebecca had said the same thing about a driver, at least one, and I'm not sure if this is something that happens every time you try to change something in there, that they were having to wait up to 40 minutes for something to show up. What you got, Nita? Okay. Nita said she had a similar situation. Okay. Okay. Hey, John. Okay. John. Hey. I'm all right. Can I call you back in about 30 minutes? I'm in a meeting right now. As soon as he gets the mic up, I would love for you to. No, that's great. I would love you to say that again because that right.
Does it work? Can you hear us?
No.
So you can see you talking into it, but you can't.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear JC? Can you hear anybody else talking on the microphone? No, it's like it's not even on. Right on the top.
It's the other end, Jay.
Right on the top.
Talking to me.
We'll get there. We'll get.
Well, sometimes the problem might be just the surface, for example,
Yes. Rebecca just said, if you didn't hear what Rebecca said, she said sometimes it does have to do with the service in the area the driver is. If they don't have good Qualcomm service, obviously it's not going to get any messages. Yeah, her cell phone, she was parked at Groveport doing the drop and hook. I couldn't hear nothing she said. She had to move up towards the gate to be able to talk to me. Yeah, so I noticed that there was a lot of cutting out when I was talking and then when you were talking to me.
Is it really just essential that they wait to get that ping in before they leave? I just can't see a driver not driving the stinking truck just for a stupid computer.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't wrap my mind around it. Is that absolutely necessary? Can you not cancel out its opinion just for that one instance so they can move on with life? That's just nuts to me, just to be waiting for 30 minutes to an hour.
So, the issue that you are talking about, Rebecca, is where they are at a location, they just dropped a load, they're trying to get their next load, and something changes, and then you try to update it, and they have to sit there before they can go to the next location. Is that what you're talking about?
A driver shouldn't have to wait on a computer, like that kind of computer action.
I agree.
It don't matter what it is.
I agree.
If you can call them on the phone and tell them what to do, they should be able to move on with life. You got to be able to cancel out at pinging or something just for that isolated incident. I agree. What Kent and I talked about earlier today was that, and the first thing I'm going to address, and if you already know this information, right? But one of the things that you had mentioned was if a driver was already
en route somewhere and you had to change it while they were moving. What Kent was saying was that if you have to change their trip plan or their pre-plan or anything while they're in transit, they don't have to stop and wait for you to change it. You can change it while they're moving. So let's say they're coming from Villa Rica, Georgia, and they get to the Alabama-Georgia state line heading toward West Point, and you tell them, hey, you got to go up to Gadsden, you got to, or wherever, drop a trailer here, pick up a different trailer, and then come to West Point. You can put that leg in while they're still moving, and they can actually route themselves to the new route because you have changed it in the computer. So when they get there, that place in Gadsden is going to be part of that work assignment. They don't have to stop and wait for you to take it all out, then put it back in, and then accept and do all of the tasks up to that point. Does that make sense? So they should not have to pull over. Yes. I was gonna pull up a website. If we have time. If we don't, that's fine. But anyway, so he clarified that for me, that if a leg changes while they're actually in transit, they don't have to stop, wait for the new work assignment to come in, because from what he said, by the time they get to Gadsden or wherever that new leg is added on, it's all going to be changed in the computer. The only difference is that the navigation will not be correct. Does that make sense? So if they using the navigation to go from Villa Rica to West Point and you add a leg, it's still going to send them straight to West Point. It's not going to put an extra loop to Gadsden. Does that make sense? So you need to tell them, no, their miles will be right. But the actual navigation part of it, unless they stop and re-accept it, then it'll switch over. Okay. So again, for drivers that are reliant on that GPS and they really have to have that, once they get off of Interstate 20 and turn toward Gadsden, they can find a truck stop, or they can just stop real quick and do that accepting. Then they'll get their navigation updated. Okay. Now, as far as sitting at a location and they're getting a load, just kind of like, I think Michelle, that was a good example for yesterday. She had already received her pre-plan when she got there, correct?
Yeah, she already had it.
Okay. And so she had her trip plan. She ended one trip and she tried to start the next one. Is that correct?
Well, she tried to do her arrive there and get, unloaded and all that there, but it kept airing out. So I went in and did the 54 and did the A's, axled her out. But when I did that, it deleted her pre-plan on her next load.
Okay.
No idea how.
Okay.
But
so that sounds
Tim
like
and I were working on it, and then you were also looking at it. So I don't know how that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I understand that, and that again, that is that may have had something to do with the reception, but
and the table mics right there.
You guys have to put in the actual the ID number, like the load ID number, correct? So it shouldn't have done anything with that new pre-plan.
The number 2 knob.
If you were using the ID number from the previous load. So I don't understand why that happened. And that's the question I think that Angie's going to try to answer for us.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about something I hear Nita say a lot to hear her just say, I got to have a load on them. They can't move to the load zone. Like, say, a driver gets empty, say, like, in York. And Miss Jo says, oh, well, they're going to reload in Baltimore. Send them that way. Well, they can't just go.
Yeah.
It's got to be on them. Or what if they don't have no load at all?
Yeah.
And they're just empty and won't go to Safe Haven because it's just, they got to go
Right.
to Safe Haven. Hey, what are you supposed to do? You put in the city they went to the Safe Haven too?
Laura, can you hear Rebecca?
I can kind of hear, but yeah.
Okay. So she was basically saying somebody's at a location, they've dropped their load, they don't have a pre-plan yet, they want to go down to the Safe Haven to camp out for the night or just get something to eat. Can they do that? Well, the quick answer to that question is yes, they can do that. If they need to go do something like that, any long moves that have to actually do with their empty miles, that's another situation.
So when the load, can you hear me?
Yes.
So when when the load gets put on them the next day, say they were at York, they went to Safe Haven, whatever, 30 miles away, closer to Baltimore. The next morning, the load's going to start off York as their starting point. So that's going to mess up the latitude, longitude. So you had to put the leg in there? Like what? How do you do it in the computer?
My understanding would be that you would have to put a leg in there. You would have to say, you don't have a load yet. I would say it would need to be done before they ended their trip. So that while they're sitting there, they don't have their pre-plan yet. They're saying, or you're saying it's going to be tomorrow before you can get it. Add a leg at the end of that load, sending them to the pilot, sending them to wherever they need to go.
Because some things are going to happen after hours, and it's going to mess up all that pinging.
Are you talking about like geofencing stuff?
Yeah, that's what I mean by pinging. When I say latitude, longitude, that's
right.
what I'm referring to.
Well, what I'm, as far as that goes, if let's say they're at, like you were talking about, York, Pennsylvania, let's just say, and I don't know exactly what truck stops are up there, but let's just say there's a pilot 50 miles away, and it's on the route to their next pickup. So they do their arrival at York, Pennsylvania. They do their unload. They do their depart. At that point, they should have been communicating with you, or you should have been communicating with them saying, when you get to York, you're not going to have a load. So we're going to put a leg in sending you to the pilot. Pilot's going to have its own address. The pilot's going to have all that information.
They don't work like that.
No. Plus, you got to delete that load and put the leg on, right?
What was that, Bill?
You have to delete that load to put a leg on to the pilot. So every time we do that, we got to go in, delete the load, put a leg on, resend. Is that right?
Yeah.
That would be
because I have to accept that leg.
We got to go with Baltimore for this loading. And then things change. Joey can do it.
Or they get to the truck stop and it's full, or
right.
Whatever.
So
I mean,
somewhere else.
That's
What about they go to a rest area?
Yeah, I mean, you don't know where they're gonna go. You don't. They might all of a sudden want to get something to eat.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could. I'm sure that would absolutely be an option.
What's that? What was the option?
JC was saying just put it on the next load so that the next morning when they wake up and have that new pre-plan, it has that leg attached to that. That's a great idea.
Now, I've got a question. Say they're, the only truck stop is north of them, but their load is going to be south of them. Royal don't pay for them to go to the truck stop. So we put legs in there, then that we're going to be paying a lot of extra mileage for them.
Who's the answer for that?
Yeah, that is definitely something that's going to have to be figured out.
Also, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Also, think about this. We know they went to the truck stop. The CSR doesn't. He's punching that load in. He's getting it in the system for us. So how can we keep an eye on what 4 different CSRs are doing on 9 different trucks and get those legs put in there?
Yeah. That's a very good question. That's a very good question. And see, this is not stuff that on my side of things that, I don't understand all y'all's process, which is why, we have these discussions, because I need to know that part of it.
When I drove, which wasn't so long ago, I wasn't micromanaged this way. This is micromanaged like preschool. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, having to put in every little thing like this and telling them where to go and what's next, telling them where to get fuel and how much to get and all that. Is that what's happening?
There's a lot of companies that do it. I don't know if that's the direction Royal wants to go. Right now, they're not going that direction, but there's a lot of companies that do it. We rely on our drivers to do their trip planning the way that they're supposed to do it. A lot of them don't. A lot of them get fuel wherever the heck they want to get fuel. A lot of them pretty much do whatever the heck they want to do.
I think one thing, flatbed lanes are something.
No question.
We don't have a lot of routes because we had an incident last week.
We can't hear Anita.
Yeah, pull the microphone up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
I was
girl.
saying, I think it was such a big difference in flat and van because this happened to us last week where a driver had to go to a truck stop and he told us which truck stop he was going to. And Jay entered it as a leg with an address. And I went in, did a 54 and then sent him the leg. So, but y'all, vans is so much different than flatbed. So, I mean,
Do they need to be put in as movements instead of legs so that they're not factored into the rate?
I don't know the answer to that question. I can ask Angie
Who answers
that
the questions? Who says?
These are questions that you give
answer?
to me. I talk to Angie. Ultimately, you know, they're going to have to figure out that side of things as far as any of that extra stuff.
Legs, route points, EMT, DMT, it's all going to factor into the rate. So that doesn't matter. It's going to pull miles and pull the rate down. So that's a question for Angie.
Very good. Very good.
But if you put it, I'm asking, if you put it as a movement, it's nothing, right?
you're talking about
Are you talking about a dispatch empty move?
Right, like they get into York, go to the Flying J in Jessup, Maryland.
Dispatch empty move has nothing to do with any load. No, that's totally different.
Yeah, but then if you did a dispatch empty move, you would know that they're sitting at the truck stop in Baltimore and it would begin their trip from that point on the next load.
So that's the big thing is where it ends their trip and begins the new one.
Exactly.
That's a big,
Exactly.
because of her miles.
Exactly. Exactly. Do you all have access to workflow at royaltruck.com? So everybody in this room can go to workflow at royaltruck.com. And well, I mean, I get messages anytime somebody sends something to workflow.
Yeah, I'm on
I
it.
get messages.
Yeah, I do.
So these questions, yes, these questions are the ones that you guys need to send to that email. Copy Angie in because
I'm going to flood that with about 1,000 questions if that's what you want me to do.
That's fine.
Seriously.
Yes.
All right.
And that's specifically what oh, she is on that because I didn't see her on that. So that's why I copied her in. But yeah, that's what John Tate was, he sent out a message last week and this week saying any questions, any concerns, any of this stuff, send it to workflow at Royal Truck. And I don't care if I get 1,000 emails because the great thing about it is every question that you ask will then bring me more into the loop of what you guys are dealing with on your side. I've seen what the drivers deal with. I've dealt with, and not on your level, but I have seen what they're dealing with, things that are going on. I understand the frustration of having to sit for anybody, whether it's a driver or you guys. Having somebody sit does nothing for anybody. All right. But
something I want to comment on is I only got 2 people on workflow. They've been on it 2 weeks. It's been hell. I got 2 more coming on tomorrow, and that'd be 4. So that's extra hell. So my comment is, I need to know the answer so I can tell somebody. I don't feel knowledgeable enough to be helping somebody. I came to the class that that you give to the people. I see what they're seeing and what you're teaching them.
Right.
I cannot help them. I don't have any of these answers. Like I need them like now. Because it's just going to snowball. Next week, I'm going to 2 more, then 2 more. And everybody else is getting 2 and 2 and 2. Yeah. And if we don't know what to do and how the money's going to flow and all that, and this thing's going to burn to the ground. You feel me?
I mean, I agree with you in that the more drivers we put on workflow and the less that, if you don't get more answers, then yes, we're going to have struggles. But, I can't.
Well, look, hey, Mike, there's one thing Angie told me. We're not held to this 100% right now. Right. So if I've got a truck that doesn't have his load on him, he's got to roll. I need those hours. I need him back at West Point. He's got an RGN, whatever. I'm going to manually start him. And eventually, that's how we're going to keep control of it. And eventually, we'll only have a small percentage we're having to do manual on. But I'm not sitting my truck. He's got to roll. It's just we're on. E-logs don't allow us that the luxury.
Well, that's the other side of it.
But we're not going to get in trouble for manually doing something right now. If that keeps you rolling. At least now that's the way I discussed it with Angie.
Yeah, and I definitely think that Angie needs to come in and spend some time talking with you, answering some questions.
Let me just get some clarity on what he said. What he said was, if we got problems,
I can't hear you.
What Bill said was, if we got a problem, just send the truck on because we're still in a half-ass
We're
way
in a
right
transitional phase. We are transitioning.
Is that what he said?
No, that's paraphrasing. That's what he said.
Yeah.
We are transitioning to this right now because of things that are happening, like drivers sitting for an hour. He said he would just manually move them. I don't know what that means. But
when is the date of not being half-ass?
Okay, I got a comment.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just like having new hires when you have macros. They're going to screw up for 6 weeks.
That's exactly right.
And then all of a sudden, everything's going to be smooth, and you'll be like, hey, I ain't got nobody red. But right now, I've got a driver that I've had on my board for 3 years. He's red right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's going to happen. No matter what. And I understand, we're going to be sitting closer to the fire as the weeks go along. It's going to be hotter than hell, but it is what it is.
But my concern is them leaving the places and it pinging, and that goes into the navigation system. So the next man that comes up, he going to be directed to the wrong place, right?
No, he shouldn't be. Like if you're saying that he's at York, Pennsylvania, and he departs himself and needs to move somewhere else, he's already departed himself. The ping's already been done when they depart. Departing has to be done manually. Well, that's true. Yes. They're
It will automatically if you're there and you don't feel like
Yeah. The biggest thing about manually departing, especially at the shipper, is they've got to put in that information. They got to make sure trailer information, bill of lading, all that stuff's right. As far as the last place you just dropped off, then yes, the geofencing should try to automatically depart you when you get a certain distance from that address. So that's where you're going to get your pings. You're going to get your pings at your arrival and your departure. Now, if they need to go to the truck stop, and whether you add that leg onto the next pre-plan they get or onto the trip plan they have now, sounds like it'd probably be easier to just do it on the pre-plan, because it sounds like it's a lot easier to pull that pre-plan out, change it, put it back in. Because once they start that trip plan, it sounds to me like there's going to be more issues with editing, more issues with changing stuff. Does that make sense?
Looks like you got a garbage situation behind you.
Local trucks. Do they even do the macros? I don't remember doing the macros when I was driving. My bad. I'm sorry. Because I didn't.
Everybody, this is not a perfect world. If every driver that gets empty has got a pre-plan, this works tremendously, 100%. But guess what, y'all? We don't have that every load. No, to answer your question, Rebecca, we are not still a driver in your PA. I'm sorry.
No, that's.
You're just there.
Somebody. Which one is it? Everybody okay?
We're not going to sit a driver in York, PA, waiting on his load to get there. If Joe says, I've got a load going to Baltimore, going to pick up in Baltimore, haven't got the load yet, you send him to Baltimore to go get the load. Right. That's what we do. If it's a pre-plan, it's perfect. But we are not going to wait on a load because we're waiting to put a load in the system. We're not going to do that. It's common, just like I told Tim and Anita when we first started this. If we've got the load, it's going to work perfect. If we don't have the load, we need to move the driver. We're going to move it and then manually fix the problem.
I guess that's what I'm not schooled on yet, is how to manually fix the problem without, and the ping doing that.
Okay.
I don't know how to do it.
Okay, that's where we'll get with Angie was Angie not here today, or
she's not here today?
Okay. I will, Rebecca, I'll get with Angie tomorrow. And Tim, have you figured out how to do that manually? If there's a guy in York, PA, and we start sending him to Baltimore, how to fix that manually?
You can't do anything except start it. You can't go back and make the correction on the area right.
I think so.
I see what you're saying. All right. They keep it in York, Pennsylvania, move to a truck stop. Next morning, we put the load on it in York. Then it's when he begins trip, you're thinking it's going to pick up the truck stop's GPS location and use that for the York, right?
Correct.
Okay. And it may not do it. I mean, I think we're.
But it should not do that. If they depart from York at the end of that and then end that trip and then head down there the next morning when they get their pre-plan, that leg from York to the truck stop should be included in the new pre-plan. But I mean, if that's how they need to keep track of every mile the truck runs, that's how they're going to have to do it. If they want it to be 100% tracked, see what I'm saying? I understand that, and that's why I'm saying that is, if that's what needs to happen.
Let's say the guys in York, PA, and we say, hey, in the morning you got a load in Baltimore, Maryland. Did you tell them to go to Chambersburg, PA, to stop at the?
If they need help to go that kind of driver, yes, I help.
Okay, let's say it's not a driver.
If they do themselves, I don't do nothing.
Okay, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to find out tomorrow how we figured that part of it out.
Yeah, I don't care what the answer is. I
Yeah.
just want to know what it is, because these
I
drivers
agree.
are going to want to know. They're going to need my help.
Yes.
I can't help them.
Yeah.
I don't like that feeling.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, and that's the whole point.
But what would you have to help the driver on work on that situation? That's what I don't understand. Yeah, it's you doing it, not answering to the driver.
You know, just send a leg and put it forward and resend it. With the leg on it. Truck's not leg on it.
Well, is that what you're doing now, Tim?
We had that situation, yes.
Okay.
God, to be kidding me.
If you have that situation, I mean, but like, Jay, where did you get the address to the truck stop by chance? You're talking about a truck stop. I mean, we're not talking about that. Our life is more, like I said, Florence, Alabama is a good example for us. We go there from everywhere. California, Carrollton. When we get there, we never know where that trailer needs to be dropped. So if it's going to be dropped at the S&J, we got to go back in there and put that leg on it, cancel it, and send it to them so they can arrive live at S&J and pinpoint where they arrived at.
Well, what would be better is y'all know what he's doing after he drops the load at S&J, and that goes on that load. He's emptying Florence. He is done with that load.
That would be better. But
That's what I want done. He is done with that Florence load. The next part is to pick up the next load.
But he can't leave Florence to get his next load.
But that's what I'm saying. That's where we've got. That's why I'm saying we are not going to wait on the load. We're going to send him because we're not going to do
if you
that.
depart from Florence and gets to the S&J, he arrives live at S&J, and then he picks the S&J load up and leaves live at S&J. That puts him at the right location.
Right.
But if you make him leave, head to S&J, you send him a load, and he starts it at S&J, it's going to act like he's still in Florence because it didn't arrive or send him at the right place.
But if he emptied out in Florence, he's empty, correct?
Right. That he should end his trip.
Okay, so if he starts moving to S&J before the load's on there,
it's going to pull up a wrong GPS when he starts his trip because he's not where he's supposed to be at. It's going to tell him he's in the wrong location. Is that right?
No, because on the next load, you're going to put Florence, Alabama to
wherever
S&J
he stopped,
picking up in Southwire.
And that's where he's got to start, where you put he was. You got to start where he was. You can't put it there and not be there.
The GPS part of it.
Right.
The
That's
GPS part of it.
Right. This is what this is mostly about, the GPS part of it.
No,
The longitude, latitude, he's got to be where he is.
Well, that's what we've got to figure out, how to go fix that part of the equation. Again, this was to help the driver so he don't have to send macros. This is not to absolutely do stuff that is absolutely ridiculous to do. We're not going to tell a driver to sit for 4 hours because we're waiting to put a load in the computer.
Right.
That's not going to happen. So that's what we've got to figure out. Again, the perfect world is he's emptying Florence. Wanda and Shaney already knows he drops at S&J, he picks up at Southwire. So all that load goes on that Southwire load. The Florence is done. So on that Southwire load, you would put in a leg, Florence to S&J to Starkville, you're done with it. That's the perfect world.
And he should have started at Florence. He would get it at Florence and leave.
That's
there.
correct.
Exactly.
That's correct.
But now, the worst thing about our side is from Florence, we got 5 options that Deborah's going to say, Franklin needs 2 trailers a day, S&J needs 4 trailers a day, Voss needs 5 trailers a day, Ecru needs 3 trailers a day. We never know what till we say head that way, we don't know where they're going.
Correct.
And that's got to be solved on the front end, like you're talking about.
Right.
Yes.
Do you see what they're saying, Mike?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. There has to be a way, just like what Kent was telling me earlier, if they're already en route and they add a leg on, then there needs to be a way where y'all can say, get to getting, we're going to send it to your computer. When you get there, you should be able to just pick up and continue on. So I don't know if that means they're going to have to put in a whole nother separate load. I don't know how they're going to do that, but we're going to find that out. And that's exactly why you need to send these questions to that workflow email.
And in your training on drivers, something I wish that you could maybe tell them is how to back up sometimes, back up a step or two. If they miss a step, can they back up to another point where they missed it? Or is it on us to fix it? Yeah. How can they back up in the system to get back to where they messed up? Or can we don't work? Do we just delete it and us fix it? That's what happened to Michelle. Me and Laura was on the phone today with Michelle, and she did something wrong before she did the step before it. Well, I'm wondering, can she back up to that step she missed, and then it would have been okay, and then come back down to the step she was on in the first place? I mean, she just did them out of order, so we need to teach them how to back up.
Right. And see, originally what I was told was that they should not be able to complete a task if the one right before it's not been completed. So I'm not sure what happened with that.
It takes a while for it to show up red on our side to even know that she had a mistake. It could take 45 minutes later. So you don't know she's made a mistake, and she's sitting there frustrated, and you're trying to help, and you don't know what to do.
Yep.
I wish.
Well, and that's what was so weird is that what that was how it was explained to me was if you've got 3 tasks, arrive, load, depart, you can't depart till you do the load part. You can't do the load part till you do the arrival. So I'm not sure how she jumped ahead. I'm not sure how that happened. When that happens, now that we know that it can happen, now we've got to figure out, can the driver fix it, or is it one of those things where you have to pull it out and send it back so they can start over? So those are all amazing questions.
The big thing is the drivers are getting their loads, correct? That's what we got. That's all we're worried about. We want to do this right, yes. But we want the drivers to run and make money, so that's what we need to worry about.
Yeah.
Them getting their load, being able to do this, and us doing common sense dispatching like we've always done. Again, if everybody had a load before they were empty, this would be a breeze. We wouldn't even be talking about this, but that's not the real world.
Here's the thing.
But that's not the way IT explained it to us at the beginning of how to work this thing.
That's right. But me and you had a discussion too.
Yeah, I know.
That this is going to be a common sense approach that's not going to jeopardize what we're doing now with the drivers getting their miles that they need and getting. Well, let's just remember the drivers are getting the loads. That's the major thing that we need to focus on, and we'll get all this other stuff fixed.
I said we just, move on like we normally do and see what happens. It's not gonna update the little decent network. It's not gonna change it. It might be error somewhere, but move on and see what happens. You know, without time. I may be wrong, Dave. I mean, y'all are in there.
Every circumstance.
It is, and we haven't had to do that a lot.
Sometimes the person can stay there.
Well, see, the sad part of us is like Bell, Texas. The closest truck stop is 32 miles away. They won't let them stay there at the place. Once you do your thing, you got to leave. They throw you in and they'll pick you out. You got to go somewhere. That's 32 miles down the road. I mean, we know that. That's not make believe. That's real numbers, and that's where it is. That's just at 32 miles is off on it that we want to be on for the numbers.
They're not going to get paid for that.
You know, I mean, it's just off on the system. It ain't true to the system.
If you put the leg in there, they will get it. They'll get paid.
That's what happened. We hadn't been told to do it. We hadn't
They haven't
been
been
told to do
authorized
it.
to listen to this.
We hadn't really been explained, you gotta put that in there. So,
Yeah.
Very good.
So this is like authority.
Well, no, we're gonna continue doing like we're doing it now.
Heard that?
Yeah. Right now, again, if a guy was in York and he had a load in Baltimore and he knew he was doing, you wouldn't say, go to Chambersburg, go to that truck stop. You would say, find a place and be in Baltimore, and we would pay that driver from York to Baltimore. That would be it. It would be up somewhere up here and back down to Baltimore. And that's what we continue doing.
Yep.
We just got to figure out a way to get that to work.
That's right. Send all those questions and send any concerns, any of that. Send that to workflow@royaltruck.com.
Hey, let me ask you a question here.
Yeah.
Do you think we ought to keep, until we get these kinks worked out, should we keep adding? I got 2 drivers coming in tomorrow. I ain't done none of this workflow. I'm lost. I don't have a clue. But I'm should we keep going this direction, or should we stop and sort of train them or make sure we got all of our ducks in a row? You see what I'm saying?
Well, the question is, the driver is still getting his load, correct? What is this causing a problem to? Nothing, y'all. Yes, the report might not be right, the GPS might not be right, but the driver is getting his information. Until we get this work out, the driver can learn how to empty, to arrive, to do all that stuff. Now, I might be completely. It's not going to do anything to the big thing we want to keep the driver going like they're doing, learn to work, but they don't have to send it back.
That's fantastic.
Just so happened the one that got on his way doing probably better than the rest of them that he was trying.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I guess our role is just different. But it really works and step out, John.
Well, you know, one thing that everybody still, maybe they got in their head, that when this first came out, it was said, no names, you will not move that truck until he gets his next load because he is live. John, you just said it. Move the truck, get him his load, go get it. We'll fix it manually later.
That's what I did.
I'm not holding my trucks up. We gotta go. We gotta roll. If he's live or half dead, you know.
I can tell you,
and we'll fix that on the back end in office.
Yeah.
I can tell you 100% sure we're going to move the truck.
All right. We can manually fix.
We got to fix that behind the scenes, and the truck won't ever know that. I mean, if we have to do, it's just like fixing a macro. We have to fix the workflow, and then if we do something bad enough, trust me, Angie's going to call you and say, "Hey, you screwed up."
Right.
I mean, she's watching this. I mean, so
but I can tell you this, y'all. Billy Milliken would have a fit if he knew we were holding a truck for 2 hours waiting to put a load on him.
No question.
So,
no question.
it's easy if you got a load preload form. It's a simple process. If you don't, then that's where it's becoming an issue.
When I was being trained, is the truck needs to have a pre-plan if possible. Like John said, a perfect world, he'd have it.
It could have up to 4 or 5.
But
So.
I was not told you cannot move the truck. They said you do not need to move unless you've got a load. But if you have to move, because some people can't, some places won't let you sit, you can. That is a circumstance. You don't have that every time. We got places that let people spend the night if they need to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I was never told you cannot move that truck. I was told if you had to move it, fine, but it's better if you don't, let the pre-plan get put on him so everything can kind of, the legs can work out and then you're good to go. That's what I was taught.
And I remember Angie specifically saying the thing about extra legs going to truck stops or getting on the road and stopping at a rest area, any of that stuff. All that stuff has addresses, all that stuff has GPS coordinates. So anytime a driver has to do that, 20 miles, 30 miles, 100 miles, you can account for it. You can add a leg somewhere on the end of the last one, on the beginning of the new one, somewhere you can add that leg.
We even added a route 21 on Mississippi at the Circle K for our in-routes because that is a route point.
Sure.
And Jay entered it as a place because it is a place.
Mm-hmm.
All right, one thing, last thing. Nita's got 6 drivers. Bill's got drivers. Larry Joe's fixing to have some. They're kind of varying. Some have been here for 3 or 4 years. Some have been here for 6 months. They're ones that, some of them you don't worry about. Some of them you do. They have all gotten a pretty good grasp of it. And I think they've probably taught us once they're the ones that are doing it every day. Don't underestimate them. That's where, we're going to learn from them. I know I have and Nita has. So they're doing all the work on their end. And I think it's beneficial to them and it helps us. I think you put it back on them and they can do it.
And they're helping each other.
That's great.
And there's like 5 steps and that's it.
That's great.
Done.
That's great.
And our total mail looks like glory. It looks awesome. All you do is delete it.
Sure.
If it even comes to you, a lot of them's going into history.
Outstanding.
So.
That's great. Nita, how long have you been doing workflow? Has it been 2 months, 3 months, 2 months? Yeah. So y'all looking at the future. Y'all looking at what's coming. Y'all looking at that stuff's gonna.
I might have. I don't know. I'm old now. I can't keep up.
But that's. Yeah.
Yeah. We started testing like one driver for a little while. Well, actually, I think we started with Will and then he quit.
Oh, that's right. You did. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Dave. Thank you, Dave.
Can we have a refresher course with Angie now that this is like in our face?
You can, and I think we can do it at any time. We can, now that we can do this kind of video conference thing. I've had video conferences with Angie where I got on and I was able to see her on one screen and I was looking at the PowerPoint she was showing me on the other. She can do one-on-one stuff if y'all need her to do
because it didn't make any sense before we were actually doing it and having it able to see what's going to happen and what you have to do. Seeing it on paper or watching a video of David moving, doing things. Monday night, I was ready to quit. I was so upset. I went home, cried, took my laptop home, and I just watched all the videos over and over again. And I was like, I got to get this somehow. But I feel like maybe if, she would do because Mike, he even said, I don't even remember being trained on it. Me either.
Yeah.
So,
well, what Angie told me was, Laura, David is making a video of an IVG from start a load to finish a load in the truck. And that's all that video is going to be. That first video had our boards on it, plus the IVG screens on it, and it flipped back and forth. And it was kind of confusing. But this next one is supposed to be just a straight video of start your trip. It's going to be a driver live doing it. And they're going to take a video from what the driver is doing and then edit it down to the point of being a straight video of being start to unload. And that's every step they ever got to do. So it should be easier to follow.
Well, the video where he has the split, doing it our end and doing what it looks like on their end was good. I just didn't realize there was any sound to it. Evidently, I had my YouTube muted and I couldn't hear it. And I'm like,
yeah, I know that.
I think the next video will be a lot clearer because it'll leave our board out. We don't even really know about our board. We need to see.
Well, I do need to see that side. That's the part I'm having a problem with
too. So, because like the other day, Michelle, we couldn't tell her what that screen looked like because I didn't know what the screen looked like. I never have seen it, So, but she's supposed to be fixing that. So,
but yeah, that's a good one to send in to, or just send it directly to Angie and just say, hey, I really need to sit down and do this. Myself, I can get up with Angie. I can have her show me anything that she needs to show anybody, any questions you have. They can keep educating me because again, I'm still learning too. I'm learning with all you. And
set something up for everybody to do this thing. You can do it on the computer and then ask Angie any questions we need to do.
We could probably do that, no problem.
Yeah.
I don't see any problem.
We'll have a conversation.
I'm wondering if they're still doing a second class. They're supposed to be doing 2 classes today.
Absolutely. If she's available, I'll send everybody an email in the morning, and anybody that can get on there, that'll be great.
The earlier in the day, the better.
Yeah.
That's fine. Monday morning, No, I'm sorry. It's tomorrow. It's tomorrow morning that they're going to be coming into work training. So I don't think I have anything Monday morning. But I mean, if in the afternoon, whatever, I'll make sure I put time aside.
Well, after I did that with Ron yesterday,
that's a good time.
I recorded right before this. I recorded the meeting.
Ours over here is
GP Ron for Angie, and I was like,
yeah.
And I saw the notification.
It's slow on us over here from like 10 until like 1:30.
That way we'll know exactly.
Things are running smooth and just going with the flow.
Right.
After that, it's awful.
Sure. Yeah, that'll be fine.
Monday? You said Monday?
I'll get in touch with Angie. I'll set it up. Monday. Monday, 11 o'clock Central or 11 o'clock Eastern?
Anita, Monday?
Eastern.
On a Monday? You want to do this on a Monday at 11 o'clock a.m.? That's okay with you? It's not good for me, but if it is somebody else, I'll make it work. 11 a.m. on a Monday is like being on crackhead. I'm on crack. I'm not your right.
Yeah, we'll set it up. If you can be there, great. If not, we'll do another session. But the greatest part about it is just like y'all are connecting with us in this room. I can connect with people 2 offices away or right next door doing the same thing.
I sure hope everybody that's got questions emails them in so they'll know Monday.
Nope. No, but this is really good. It's exactly what we needed. So I appreciate y'all coming.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Feel free to email anything to Workflow. Feel free to email questions to Angie, to myself. I'll pass them on. Absolutely. Thank y'all. And because we want to get this figured out.
Yeah, I hope there's a lot of emailing going on before Monday where we have it all nailed down.
Bring it on.
There you go. There you go.
I'm going to start sending mine now.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I appreciate y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Take care. Have a good evening.
You too.
Anytime of the day, so if they have a problem, you can ask. But I'll talk to Andy.
Hey, Mike. Mike, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Hey, just take a look at that email I sent on Javier Brown when you get a second.
I saw the one about the tarping. Was that the one, or was it something different?
That's the one. Javier is worth working with, and
Yes,
we
he
lost
is.
that load today because of that.
Yeah.
So,
Get him here whenever you can, and we will make sure we put him through some good tarping
I'll let
training.
you know when he's headed towards the yard.
Okay.
All right, guys, I got to get out of here. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Bye. I don't know. We used up the hour, which is. Was she? Shane, are you still on there? No.
David, you on there?
No, I don't. Right.
there's circumstances it's not going to fit it, but there's ways you can get around it.
Here's what I didn't have a chance to say it, but I wanted to say, you've got companies like Western that has 5,000 trucks. I don't know how many they have. You've got US Express, Schneider. They got 40,000 or 20,000 trucks. They're all on workflow. Obviously, they're going to have the same issues as our little 250 truck, and their drivers ain't sitting. I know for a fact that their drivers ain't. So what are they doing? Whatever it is they're doing, we need to be doing. Do we need better computers? Then we need to get better computers. Whatever it is.
Chris and I said, we talking about Western. I said, they have the same exact problem. They ain't got their trucks every day.
And I guarantee you, Schneider will. They'll bobtail you 500 miles if they have to get you to something.
Hey, David, can you hear me? David,
yeah, I appreciate you coming in.
You're muted.
Yes.
Well, if any, nah, I don't think so.
Yeah. What up?
Nothing. I was just seeing if you're still there.
I'll be in here for next little bit. If anyone else is coming, if not.
Yeah. Is there a second meeting happening today?
We're still debating that right now.
Did other people actually come in? I mean, it looked like there was a big group in the first meeting.
Yeah, it was more of just like a Q&A type deal. And we were talking, David, and a lot of people have questions about it, and they want to set up a meeting for Monday. And I was wondering if it wouldn't just be easier just to keep make sure Angie's on your meeting, and then just tell them like, hey, here's the link. If you have a question any time of the day, just jump on here and ask. Instead of setting up like a specified time web conference. Or, you're still muted.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that right now.
It's really be kind of up to Angie, wouldn't it?
No, it's going to be up to Kent.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
It's not going to be up to me or Angie. That's an administration call. Everything is as it is right now, not because of our decisions, but because of administration's decisions.
Sure. Okay, that's fine.
So
I'll talk to Ken about it tomorrow.
Yes.
But even if there was like a 2-hour window during the day where they say, all right, between the hours of 1 p.m. and 3 p.m., if you have a question.
I, again, cannot say yay or nay to that in any way. So I that's completely up to administration. So it's definitely something to pitch. I can pitch it from my end too, but it's going to have to be something that other people make decisions on.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right. Are you shutting everything down?
Well, I was going to turn off these microphones, assuming I don't think anybody else is coming.
Yeah, go ahead and
well, I'm just trying to figure out are we done with this meeting? If so, I'm going to go back to my other meeting. If not, then I'll keep this open because
you can go back to your other meeting.
Okay. Well, I just
don't come back.
Okay.
Go away.
I'll do that.